What's up, guys?
So we have, as you know, we got Luke again, our the one and only, and you can call me Tundra Andrew. And then we have a new guest star right here. We got Rye, who's gonna be coming along
What's
more
up, you?
often. So
Yeah, what's up?
let's hear more about you.
Yeah, no worries. My name's Rye, or full name would be Reginto. I'm also real name would be Paden. Right now, I am just working and part-time college, part-time work, and just going through life and navigating the best way I know how.
Sounds good. I like that, bro. I'm the same basically boat with you. I'm kind of like part time college and part time as well, like with jobs and all that fun stuff. So sounds good, brother. All
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
So what kind of topic did you choose today, as you see with this beautiful theme you have?
Yeah. So with the new year have just been passed, we've been through the first week of January officially. So congratulations to everyone who made it through. Specifically, I thought about the topic of self-care, more specifically as to what that means to each of us as individuals, but also what it means in the more broad general term. Um, I think a lot of the times in today's society, everyone says, "Oh, you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of others," or "You take care of others before you take care of yourself." But all these sayings and terms are getting tossed around a lot around social media, and I don't think there's not a rigid definition for what self care is, but it can mean so many different things. I mean, one person for that could be, oh, I just go and read a book for 20 minutes. But another person could be, oh, I go out and I go to a coffee shop. So I guess what I wanted to ask you guys is, what do you guys do for self care? Just take care of yourself in your day to day lives.
Well, I like to kind of start off with that because I do have some things to say with that. So, as you just mentioned, I'm kind of I used to be like the believer of like take care of yourself before taking care of others, right? And even Luke knows like I always tell people it's like put yourself first and say all these things to others because like I believe it is pretty important. But it's like this message is more so important to people who ignore themselves as like a person in general, because other people,
Mhm.
at least this is the kind of like the message I needed to hear at the time was like a time where like I used to always like people please and just like try to take care of others, quote unquote, but like I never took care of myself, which like came to like the idea of self-care, which was for me, I would say it's more so like working on yourself mentally, physically, and it could be spirit as well, or like with your heart. So like I would say self care, it comes from the physically, just like natural stuff. You want to take care of yourself, take care of your looks, take care of the way you feel, and when you do that, I feel like self care could be kind of controversial, a little bit off topic. Where it's like if you take care of yourself, it shows outwards. It shows like based on like how you present yourself. Even with me, like how I present myself with like
Right.
whatever is facial like this, like it shows like what you think of yourself. So I feel like it is mostly that. It's more so like the mental aspect and the physical aspect. It depends like on how you treat yourself. But that's my thoughts.
All right, man. Solid, solid. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, so like self care is interesting for me. I feel like self care is pretty much making sure that if you put the work into, you know, making sure you eat food, making sure you drink water, making sure that you have good hygiene, making sure that your room is clean. And these are all kind of more practical stuff to help you with your creative mindset and your environment, as well as just how you perceive yourself and perceive others. Um, for me, I don't really have like a self care routine. So, this is why I was interested in you bringing up this topic because I feel like self care is definitely an area I struggle in. And the sense of like, not because I'm like lazy in particular, but more or less like I get really burnt out easily. I have like a lot of stuff that I don't like fall back towards due to like maybe trauma in the past or just, you know, circumstances that prevent me from thinking about self-care, but I would like to get more into a routine of self-care, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Especially knowing, I mean, I've known you for, I don't know, over almost a year, right? A little
Over
over.
a year. Over,
Yeah,
little
yeah,
over
a
a
little over,
year,
yeah.
yeah.
And just off of your lifestyle that I know of or see when you post things on your Instagram, or yeah, you do lead a very busy and hectic life. So it's totally normal. And I completely understand how you could possibly feel burnt out. So
Yeah.
hopefully when, discussion kind of gives you like a little rough draft of, what you could possibly be doing for yourself, because it's very easy to get caught up in that. Um, I myself
Yeah.
got caught up in that whole burnout phase about 2 years ago before I took a year off college. I did nothing for myself. I ate like trash, and I didn't exercise. I didn't drink a whole lot of water. These are bare necessities that I think we overlook and forget about. Because usually when you wake up in the morning, your first instinct is, oh, I got to go have a cup of coffee or go have a cup of tea. You don't think, I need to rehydrate my body. If the average person sleeps in between 7 to 9 hours, that's 7 to 9 hours your body is not getting any hydration whatsoever. So, I mean, something as simple as waking up in the morning, you could drink like, let's just say a glass of water with your coffee, and it could definitely improve. See, I see Tundra doing it right now. See?
Bro. Yeah. I had a little
Yeah, yeah.
coffee there too. I don't know if you saw, but yeah, it's pretty good stuff. I'm about that as well.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
burnout's serious. It's only when you start. I feel like a lot of the times too is you don't. It's similar to the fact of you when you don't recognize something's a problem. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't see taking care of yourself is a necessity until it starts affecting you mentally as well. Your mental performance, whether it be in school, work, with your social interactions as well.
Yeah,
So
because like right now it's like I feel like it's more or less like I'm in survival mode and not in like a routine mode where everything is stable and structured. You know, I feel
yeah,
like, you know, it's just like there's so many circumstances in my life that led me to where my only job right now is being a Lyft driver. And with that, you know, there's the circumstances of having a rental car. I have to get my car repaired because of a hit and run. And it's just like my waking moment is not, you know, the routine of how it used to be, where it's like I would make my bed, take a shower, brush my teeth, have some breakfast, you know, and then start my day.
right, right.
It's like it's that routine is now gone because of all the stress factors, such as like waking up and realizing, oh my gosh, I need to make this financial end meet, or I need to make sure I check up on this person. I need to do this. It's like a burden of carrying like so many issues all at once that it
Mhm.
distracts you from the self-care, and then you just try to do the best you can with, you know, like, oh, I have to rush through this so I could jump into this. So I guess I have a question then.
Yeah, no worries.
So during those times of just like crisis or busyness, how would you say you manage self-care and get back into that routine of things?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I've gone through over the span of the past 2 years. I've gone over about 3 or 4 morning and nighttime routines, and they've all shifted around on how long I spend on those. I work night shifts at a local tea bar, so I get home pretty late and I wake up in the late morning. That's just how that schedule's set up. Um, so in terms of creating the perfect morning and nighttime routine, it's really just okay. What are my necessities? You need food, you need water, you need sleep. Those are like, if anything, those are the most important. I would even throw exercise in there, even if it's as simple as waking up and doing a few push-ups and squats, right? So for me, I'll share a little bit of my morning routine, and then that'll lead into the question that I have for Tundra, actually. So when I wake up, I wake up, I have a glass of water, I'll hit either the gym, and if I can't make it to the gym or I didn't make enough time for it, I'll just do a few push-ups, squats, crunches. And after that, just make breakfast after that. Because that way I've gotten water in my system. I've had food. I mean, like a good amount of food, not just, even if it's something as simple as a banana and a bagel, I got to have something in my system. And then from there, you can keep going. So it really just depends on time frame. And I mean, if you ever want help creating that too, I'm more than happy to do that just as a friend. Because it's hard. It's hard constructing those schedules for yourself. And what's even harder is sticking with it, that consistency. Because you have to make that promise to yourself. Okay, if I'm going to sleep for this long, I have to stick with it. And I think it's that subconscious fear of commitment of, I'm doing hard work, but you kind of have to trick your brain into liking the hard work, if that makes sense. So again, that leads into the question for Tundra that I have is, what about you, Tundra? Do you have a morning routine? Do you have like a nighttime routine that you'd like to share? Or have any thoughts on that?
So before I like to get into that, I want to mention one thing you said. Like you said, like to trick your brain into like doing it, like the hard routine and all that. So I have kind of like a theory with it, why it's so hard to like take action on certain things. And the mind, right? You can think like you think about these routines you want to do or these hard things you want to do, to like better yourself. And other things like you want this morning routine, this night routine. But why is it that we always have something fighting like back against us? And it's because our body is not there. Like we're physically not there, but mentally we're there. So you kind of have to like, I would say, you're going to have to like also like physically like take action as well. Like the morning routine, if you have to, let's say, go out for a walk, right? You just gotta like kind of like get yourself moving around and then go for the walk, Or if it's doing something at work, if you have to work hard on an essay or something like that, just mentally think about it, and then maybe before you even do the essay, just like do a little quick exercise for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you'll probably get into like the focus state for like a good 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if you're mentally there, you got to also be physically. But
I can't just be one or the other. I get you.
100%. And something I'm practicing as well, which I'll get into with my routine right now. More so, I do want to improve my morning routine more. More so, my morning routine is mostly about like I would say hygiene care or like anything like that. Right when I wake up, usually I like would clean my face or shower or whatever it is. Anything like just taking care of my hygiene, and then I would usually sometimes I'll take like my vitamins or whatever I have to take. Usually it will consist of vitamin D, multivitamin, or even some calcium, just because like I don't really do dairy personally, and anything like that I'll usually take. So it goes to like hygiene, supplements, and then sometimes I'd walk my dog as well. It's not all the time in the morning, sometimes afternoon. It's not like a stick thing, consistent like morning and afternoon. It's just whenever she wants to go. And yeah, I mean that's mostly my morning routine. It's not much of exercise as I would like. I would like to improve on that. Where it's like in the morning, I would usually like to start off the day with exercise because then you're mentally, there. You're mentally like. I really feel like really when you do anything physical, going back to that, it really improves your mental state. You feel different. You think different. You're more like focused instead of clouded. So
100%.
Yeah.
And I love that you bring up the whole mind and body thing, especially with exercise, because it's so true. A lot of the times it's hard. One of the most popular things is what's your New Year's resolution? I'm gonna go to the gym more, right? But they're not setting realistic goals for themselves, right? You get overwhelmed saying, I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times a week starting January 1st or whenever that may be, and then you start doing it for maybe a week and a half, and then it just slips. You don't stay
Exactly.
consistent anymore. It's so hard to stay consistent because you have to, again, kind of trick your brain into sticking with that motivation, going, I personally love journaling. I have a journal that my sister got me.
Really?
It's like a self mastery journal.
Yeah, I got one too,
But
bro. That's sick.
yeah, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's like a morning thing, and it goes
Mm-hmm.
over. Okay, it's a short to-do list, but it's unique in the sense where it narrows it down, saying, okay, I can go through maybe 10 things I might need to get done in a day, or I would like to get done. But what it really forces you to do is like the top 3 goals. And I see that as the top main 3 things that I need to get done. What are those top 3 things that need to get done today? Because that way I can eliminate the other 7 things on that list and solely focus on those 3 things and tackle it one at a time. So I'm not overwhelmed. And then the second section, before it, I close it for the morning and I don't return to it until night, because there's a morning and night section. That second section is, what is the affirmation for today for yourself? Because it really gets you to think of, what do I value right now? What am I really happy to have in my life right now? What am I grateful for? And it makes you think, and just the other day I wrote in there saying like, I'm really proud of my work ethic,
Good to hear.
because it's, you don't, and especially as, in today's society, men do not get compliments a whole lot of the time. And not some, and I get it, and I'm not saying that, men are the only people affected. No, I don't really see people giving compliments to other people unless they're like their friends. But you don't have random strangers going off around street corners. You're going to the coffee shop. You don't turn to the person behind you and go, "Hey, I really like your shoes." You never ever see that happen, and more so often, especially even with males. That's what I've observed. So,
interesting.
and it may be a cultural dynamic. It could be completely different over on the East Coast. I don't know. I've only been on the West Coast my entire life, so
Yeah, me too. I get you.
yeah. But
Interesting.
I would see, you definitely start seeing similarities and differences. So, not to get too far off topic, but in terms to take care of myself, what I'll do is I'll just think about. I try not to copy what I wrote in terms of similarities in the mornings. So if I said, "Hey, I really like my work ethic and I'm proud of the work that I do," then the next day I think of something more on the like spiritual or emotional side. A lot of the times, especially growing up, we were told, especially as men, we were told, crying makes you vulnerable. Crying makes you weak. So you don't take care of that self. You don't take care of your inner child, to kind of sit there with those feelings, saying, "Hey, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to shed a tear or 2. But ultimately, you need to get back up again."
I agree.
And really hard, I think, for males today because, especially if they were growing up in the early 2000s, because that was that, I wouldn't say it was a paradigm shift, but it was definitely a shift of how we approach men's mental health.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of trying to reteach yourself how to get more in tune with your feelings. And that's a great way to take care of yourself. I mean, if you take a look at, suicide rates and all that stuff, it's mostly higher in males. So if you want, I would, again, another great form of self-care, therapy, even if it's a 15-20 minute check-in for free, like, just do it. If you feel like you need the extra support, don't be ashamed of it. It's not a weakness at all. And that's actually one way that I handle my stuff too. I'm not seeing anybody that's licensed right now, but occasionally, we tend to get anxious. We tend to overthink at times, and we forget, hey, we're only supposed to look at the next step in front of us.
Yeah.
Because we always see, this end goal. We don't take a look at how we're going to get there, because there are multiple ways you could get to your end destination. It's, it's about that journey, not the destination kind of thing.
100%.
So as long as you can see that next step of, okay, well, I'm feeling super anxious right now, but sometimes we can't calm ourselves down. So that's when I go and do those 20-minute check-ins with somebody else. Even if it's just a friend, you could literally just call them up. It's so easy. But a lot of the times we get caught up in our own lives.
Yeah.
Just another great form of self-care is calling a friend, calling a loved one.
Interesting.
uh, yeah. But what do you guys do when you feel like that sense of being overwhelmed from day-to-day life?
Well, that's great. Like, I'll let Luke take this question. Just I want to like kind of expand on a couple of things that he said.
No,
Like this is
you
like
could.
Yeah, no, you're
you
good.
that
I'll
was real
answer and then
interesting.
you could go into it, Chandra. You're good. You're
Oh,
good.
you want to answer? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
No,
I'll
I'll
answer
let
because like I wanted to add up some stuff.
go for it.
Add on to that.
Let's do it.
Crap. I think I lost my train of thought. My bad.
Yeah, I want to add on to it too. I was like, there's so much to add on to.
I should have wrote it
I
down. Yeah, you're
know.
good. Yeah, no. There's just a lot of stuff there for sure. One thing I did kind of want to mention is just like I kind of like feel like when it comes to men's mental health and care, one thing that really affects me or causes me into a spiral of depression is this pattern that I've been noticing within myself, and it's that I have a fear of being disliked,
Mm,
and it's just like it doesn't matter if it's like someone who said something negative about me or how I feel like someone perceives me or, someone who like ruins my day and my mood. It's like it affects me in the sense of just like having to turn into like a people pleaser of like it turns into all of a sudden this like notion of like how do I get these people that don't like me to like me. It's like maybe if I showed them support, maybe if I give them a gift, maybe if I help them out with an issue that they're dealing with, and then it turns into a more selfish thing, of just like this desperation of like making sure I have tabs on everyone and everyone knows that I'm a good person, I try to change their perception of me when realistically that's what's causing me to fall even more down a path of anxiety, of dread, of despair, um,
yeah.
and losing a sense of myself. And
Mhm.
so I feel like self-care is comes important in play in terms of how no matter how people perceive you, good or bad, it doesn't affect you in your day-to-day life and what you do because that doesn't have a power over your mental health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I guess my question with that is like how do you go forward to get to that point? And I
Ooh.
haven't necessarily
Yeah.
found that out or have a self actualization of that for
Right.
Let,
myself,
Yeah.
you know?
let me
I
tell you
do
something.
I do
Oh,
have an
yes.
answer, but Tundra, you take the floor
Oh,
because
you have
I
an
can
answer
tell you.
too? No, I got an answer as well, bro. This is like something.
Okay.
Um, so like to get into answering like a couple things I want to add on as well, like a little bit, and then you can like
Yeah.
also give your answer. It's more so like how used to view is crazy, but being disliked is actually quite the blessing. It's not as bad as we think,
Mhm.
being
Yeah.
disliked. Being disliked means you're doing something different from the rest necessarily. You're not like, trying your best to like please others, trying to like, be liked from others because you're not being true to yourself. You're always like, acting another certain way or anything like that. We've all been there. We all probably like, act another certain way for like other
Oh
people because
yeah.
it's like in human instinct before because we thought we'd die. But like, if you like face that fear, face being disliked, you get huge confidence in yourself in a way. It's because all the answers, like you mentioned therapy and all that, and therapy is actually really good to like, understand yourself. But how does it work usually? Therapy is usually like a guide to the answers but don't
Yeah.
like,
It's a tool. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tool. So like therapy, great way, but it shows you, makes it more clear to the answers like in you. You're just going to have to like keep working with your therapist, and keep working on yourself, and that comes with self care. So I would say usually it's it's how you perceive yourself. How do you perceive yourself like when you're around other people? Confidence is not so much thinking that you're better than everyone. Confidence is that you don't care if people dislike you or like you anyways. You're still gonna be you. And yeah, I mean, like, just a little bit, like, little add on for a minute. I want to mention is like, I want to also like say you said something about gratitude. Gratitude is really important too. Being grateful, because like, what
Yeah.
does a sick person usually think, right? They just want to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not gonna think
Mm-hmm.
like, man, dude, I want to have like all this ambition. Like, ambition's good, but not like, too much. Like, where it's like to the point where like it diverts your like health and other people, and like, you know, it just all depends. But I still like being grateful for like even the air you breathe, even like, moving your hands and all that. Not everyone can do these things, There's some people like in areas, and nothing to feel bad off. It's just like, just be grateful for yourself and grateful for the life you've been given. And with compliments too, some situations like I've had been complimented when I used to work. I used to work at Chipotle, and
Okay.
like I used to be a cashier, and I have tested two things in a sense. Um, like, I would like, there's days like where like I was kind of down, didn't really talk too much to people. I didn't really get like any comments and like that. But like, once like, I was like in a better mood for myself, or like, more so like, took the aspect like a bit more grateful in a sense. And like, talking to people, we're not understanding them. I've got like a lot of compliments, and like just from that, just like understanding people, because like compliments, there's a saying where it's like, if you try to be liked by other people, like if you try always that, but like not acting a certain way, it's gonna take you 2 years in order to like actually have people like you. But if you try to like, understand and like people like just naturally, it's good. You're gonna take 2 months, you're gonna make so many friends. So like,
Yeah.
it's like more people, they're not really too focused on like how you look or who you are, like they don't really care about, even friends, they don't really care too much about it. They care about your relationship and your connection with them, how you treat them, right? So like, same thing with people. When I used to work, when I treated them like, having a conversation, I used to talk about this guy. He was a bit older, but I used to talk about like philosophy and like all this other stuff. He was a great guy. Even with women, I talk to them as well. Like, it's just like, it's just natural. You gotta like, it's that natural connection. Not all the time getting compliments. Like, I've been like called some things too. It wasn't like, I didn't think of it too much. I didn't like, gave the same hatred. It's like, hey man, it's their opinion. Like, it comes with like that saying with confidence as well. It's like where you're confident enough to a point where like, it doesn't matter if you're liked or disliked. You appreciate it both sides because it shows you who the person is, not so much on like necessarily on who you are. If just, it's not a valid opinion. But yeah, that's what I have to really mention. Good, you mentioned men's mental health too. Like, everyone's like, just in general, like men have felt like been more lonely in this generation because of what's perceived on the media.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's why it's best to work on yourself, all that fun stuff. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
let's see it.
Yeah, for sure. And especially I also brought it up because I'm heading into being studying for a psych major actually.
Me too, bro.
I don't know if I told you about this, but
Yeah.
I my end goal with my career is definitely to um, be a therapist and specialize with attachment. Luke knows all about this because I've been taught last time we chatted. He was definitely talking. I was definitely talking to Zero off about it. A lot of times it's hard for people with because I want to focus specifically like attachment theory. I don't know if you know anything about that, Tundra, or heard of it.
Yeah.
But it's just dealing with people who have secure attachments or insecure attachments, and just understanding that inner child and how your nervous system works. That's kind of like the framework. So a lot of times we don't know. Some people don't know how to self-regulate. Some people don't know how to show up for themselves because they're not taking care of themselves. In that sense, because they're used to taking care of others.
Yeah.
But it's like that person on the airplane thing when they say when the oxygen mask comes down, help put yours on first before you help your others, and that's kind of the same way we have to approach it with self-care. It's like, look, you have to find that little your inner child, that little boy, a little girl inside of you. You kind of have to just take a deep breath and go, hey, I'm here for you now. What's going on? And then to get that mental clarity. And it's a lot of hard work. You got to be consistent with it, but self-love and self-care, they're not easy things. You know, a lot of times, oh, you just do some meditation, do some yoga, smoke a joint. You know, sure, that might be self-care on the surface, but you're only scratching the surface. It's only when you dig deep and understand, hey, how can I show up for myself better so then I can show up better in all aspects of life with my family, friendships, relationships, whatever it may be. You know, when we were going back to the whole morning routine things, like, yeah, I listen to, you know, I'm not going to lie, I listen to influencers occasionally because I need that extra boost of advice of how they shape their morning routines or something. And I do shape those off of the models that they give me. And I believe I was watching, I believe his name's Alex Costa. Great dude, great fat. He has a good channel on YouTube and stuff like that. He has some pretty solid advice. But he was saying, yeah, making your bed's kind of like the first win in the morning, you know, because you've accomplished something. Even if it's super small as making your bed, even just pulling the sheets back up over your covers to hit your pillow, make it kind of look a little bit nice. That's your first win of the day. You've already accomplished something. So you've got the ball rolling to then continue by looking at those emails, working on that homework assignment that you didn't want to get done the other night before, you know, trying to, you know, work on figuring out how to ask your boss for a raise or just show up better at work. You're already kind of getting that ball rolling in a sense. So it, you know, it's similar to how you were talking, Tundra, how you were mentioning all like these little things combining into one thing. It's like, definitely the little things do count, even if they are small.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you mentioned something earlier about like perception and, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
how you would be seen. And a lot of, you know, we're talking a lot about the, you know, it's very much mind and body, you know, we have to, it's very much mindset. If you are, it's similar to the whole thing of, oh, if you think that you can't do it, then you're not going to try. You're not going to make an effort to do it. But if you say, well, I'll give it my best shot, you're approaching it from a new angle. So
it's that growth mindset and not the stagnant mindset.
Yeah. So in terms of going, whenever there are moments where I feel like I'm being judged for what I say or do or how I act, I kind of just, you know, sure, some things that I've been told in my life have been big downers. I've been told some pretty nasty stuff to my face. Working in customer service industry, it's a little rough. Tundra knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah.
Even with family. Or
I mean, Lyft is kind of like Lyft is.
Okay, so we all get it. We're all in this together.
You've probably seen worse. We just heard like with the people.
I've heard the crazy stories.
That's crazy Lyft stories. Yeah.
You know, that mindset of, okay, cool. How'd that interaction go? Is it going to ultimately stop my progress from moving forward? No. Is this one interaction with this one person who called me like a dumb, ignorant kid going to affect the rest of my day? And it goes back to, I believe I was watching this comedy special, Trevor Noah, I don't remember which one it was, but he said something really powerful in that comedy special. And I believe it was Son of Patricia, if I'm not mistaken. And he goes, yeah, what my mother always told me is we can't control how other people, you know, feel, how they act, how they interact with us. 100%. So when they say something rude to us, you have to just take it in and you have to decide, okay, I was just told I'm an ignorant child who doesn't know what the heck they're doing. All right. I'm going to approach that as, okay, that's their opinion of me. But you have to really, it takes a lot of inner strength and self-confidence for sure, to say, you know, I disagree with you. I'll be okay. You know, you're not picking up what I'm putting down. That's okay. You have to you choose to put yourself in that mindset of, ultimately, I can choose how I'm going to react to things. That's what I can control.
Yeah.
I can control my emotions. I can control how I react to things. I was called the racial equivalent of the N-word to my face back when COVID first started. And I was working as a grocery bagger. And first of all, dude got banned from the store, everything. It was great. The management handled it very well. But I kind of just took that in kind, and I kind of smiled at it because, one, he was wrong about it. And two, I didn't let that phase me. And that was the first time where I really had that mental clarity of going, wow, I chose to react to that in a way I never would have a few years ago. We think back to all these things that we didn't used to do for ourselves. We didn't used to show up for ourselves in certain ways than we did in others. And if you're going, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I was so embarrassing in high school, that's because there's growth. There's progress there. So I guess as a fun little twist of this is how are you guys? What have you noticed over this the past year that just passed? What are some things that you noticed as kind of like those winning moments, like things that you would put in the scoreboard of, hey, I did this for myself. This is how I showed up for myself and took care of myself. That's a win.
Well, I first want to add on to what you were saying first, and then I'll get to the question, because this was like my thoughts on it with terms of confidence growing. Yeah. So I was thinking about how yesterday, I won't go into the details at all, but I had a really bad Lyft ride, and the passenger was just terrible. Long story short, she got banned from the app and whatnot. But the way that I treated the self-care was possibly not really a negative way to look at it, but it's more or less like I just want to go home and play a video game from my childhood, something that's comforting, And so that's what I did. I went home, played something that would give me a comfort and kind of relaxed and was able to get my bearings back again. And that's a good way to have some self-care and move forward. But I'm thinking about what probably could have been better, because whenever I think about doing things out of comfort, you're not really growing, you're kind of just stagnant. You're not like building confidence. In fact, you're kind of reinforcing a label on yourself. Like, for example, one negative thing from playing like a video game and just seeking out comfort, where it's definitely chill to do that, but it also reinforces a label of like, I'm lazy, I'm not doing anything to clean my room or fix my room, and I'm not really taking care of myself. I'm not drinking water, I'm not eating food, I'm just playing a video game because in my mind I'm like, that's something that gave me joy as a child, and now it's giving me joy now. And that's fine in of itself, but does it produce growth? You know what I mean? Or does it help you in those situations, like you said, where someone was being racist towards you and their rhetoric, like you were able to reflect back on your past and how you've grown to now, where you were able to go back at that with the confidence of that doesn't affect you, or you didn't allow it to have power over you. And so I feel like a better way of self-care is finding something that will help you grow instead of something that will give you comfort. Both are good things, but if we're looking for growth, something that helps you grow is better.
Interesting.
I would. Yeah, it's very interesting you bring that up. Tundra, I know you got a thought there, and I'll let you get to that. I just want to comment real quick what we got to say. Yeah, I would see that, I'm not saying that what you did or anything. I would have done the exact same thing given your situation. Just because you told me the story, I'm not going to go into detail out of, personal that, but, I would have done the exact same thing. But what you did is you self-regulated. You said, hey, I'm freaking out. I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to take a step back, relax. Okay, now let's see what I can learn from this. That's the biggest thing. When I was growing up, my dad always said, okay, there are 3 things about mistakes. 1, admit where you were wrong. 2, fix it if you can. And most importantly, learn from it. So, but it's not so much for mistakes, but everything else. But I would slightly disagree with your comment about it being stagnant, because you could also go, okay, I'm going to take, let's say, an hour playing video game, and then I'll clean my room.
Yeah.
Kind of do hand in hand. So that's all I really wanted to say there. Tundra, you wanted to add on
Yeah.
or say something?
Well, to be honest, for me, I kind of disagree with it, with like the kind of
Yeah.
both like comfort and all that. I understand why, but like I kind of like to mention like a couple of things. It's more so, I believe this comes with belief. Like I think belief is one of the strongest things that like really affects us as like a people.
Mhm.
Like you see it with everything. Like there's war starting for belief if we're gonna mention like religion or like not, but it doesn't only have to be like religion. It's more so like about the belief of themselves or belief about other people. If people believe, people suck, people are gonna suck towards them. If they believe, people are good, people are gonna believe people are too nice, they're gonna be taken advantage of. So what is
Yeah.
it? What is it? What is like the way? It's the belief for yourself. You're gonna have to believe on who you are, and you gotta like
Mhm.
trust yourself. You gotta like believe like the kind of character, the kind of person you are. So that's why I say it could go hand in hand, even because then you're gonna be too much believing what people think of you or like what they say to you, because you are gonna hold on to that. It's like,
Right.
huh, like subconsciously you're gonna think, is that me? Am I ignorant? Am I like, a terrible person? You're gonna believe that, and you gotta like take consideration that people's opinions are not really valid because they all are about themselves. It's not you. It's about their perception of you. It's not necessarily you. Everything in this world is all about your perception and perspective, how you see things. How I see the world, and let's say how I see like, and how you see the world is probably different. Or even with animals,
Oh,
like
100%.
yeah, you see like the snake, like the snake sees the world differently. It doesn't see the world like how it is. And then other things, other animals, other whatever, they see it like different colors. They see like different perspectives of the world. The world is what we see and like what we think. The world is what we make of it. So that's what I want to mention. It's that you're going to have to take consideration. It's like, why are you feeling freaking out? Why are you feeling overwhelmed? It's right here. It's all the internal. It's like whatever you think of
Yeah.
yourself, whatever other people think of you. You gotta like, I would say, care less about like what people think. Kind of like stoicism, as you mentioned. Like you kind of mentioned about like not really caring about people other think. And it comes to stoicism, where stoicism is more so you're in control of your emotions. You don't let the emotions like necessarily control. You don't emotionally invest what other people negatively say about you because you know that's not you. Why choose to emotionally invest in that? Why try to fight it? Why try to prove yourself to someone or to something when you already know? So that's why I feel like we gotta take responsibility for what I feel, and I say comfort is not the answer. It's not the answer because like, what's the difference between like trying to be comfortable and let's say someone said a bad thing about you, so you're gonna go play video games 2 hours. You're trying to make yourself feel better. How's that different from like other people where they treat it like they try to be comfortable with overeating? That's why you see a lot of people that's like overweight and whatnot. It's the enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's that comfort food, quote unquote. Like that's why I feel like we gotta remove attachments of like comfort or anything that like quote unquote feels good, and we gotta like take action for ourselves. If we have to feel good with comfort, you're going to have to feel good even like when you're in uncomfortable situations, as like Luke, even like if someone says something about that, you guys still feel good. Like you're going to have to build yourself up, whatever it is, to where you detach from that comfort and you can feel like comfortable or feel good about yourself at any time. You might feel down about yourself, but then you just work on it. You work on yourself, either it be like
Mhm.
weights, mental.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel like. I feel like taking responsibility for why you feel that way and you listen to it and you work on it is really one of the big goals that can really change your life. That's what I
Yeah.
have to say.
Definite 100%. Like understanding your own, understanding yourself, and your own truth and what you believe for sure. And it's a lot easier said than done. It's not going to happen overnight. That's like what I love about like
Mhm.
that growth mindset, that self taking care of yourself and being responsible for your own stuff. You know, um, and I do agree. I slightly disagree with the whole like comfort as the enemy thing.
I like that.
Um,
Yeah.
Here,
But
well, let me add on. This is let me
Both of them
like
good.
let me
Yeah.
let me
Let's
tell
hear
you
it.
something. Let me tell you something. Let me
Let's hear it, bro.
reinvent my thought here.
Mhm.
Um, let me also add on that phrase that goes too much of a good thing could be a bad thing.
yeah,
So comfort in itself isn't bad, but once you start indulging into one thing, you're not really taking care of yourself. You're just it turns into a different thing entirely. It's not
yeah,
comfort anymore, it becomes indulgement. And
Mhm.
then it turns into addiction, and then that leaves you into a state of depression and despair at its final form and finality. So you have to learn how to balance when does comfort get too far, and then when do you have to actually take care of yourself in other ways. So
Yeah.
right. I think what we're all trying to say is everything is good in moderation. Not so much this
yeah,
comfort's the enemy, or I have to have comfort, or I'm going to lose my mind. It's everything's good in moderation, right? Whether that be your vices or your virtues. Everything's good in in that moderation sense, and as long as you keep that in mind, it's like, look, okay, let's take a step back here. All right, I had let's just I'm not going to lie. It's the holiday season. I indulged a little bit. I ate a bit too much, kind of went crazy with the sugar. It's the holiday season, you're a family, you're eating a lot, right?
yeah,
And then after that happened, I'm like, okay, time to get back into that mindset of, okay, I'm not going to have a whole lot of sweets. I'm going to eat a bit more vegetables this week. I'm going to, eat more things that are have nutritional value and sustenance for my body, as opposed to, a cookie or a cheesecake, right? So um, I think everything is good in moderation. I don't think and it's. I love the fact that we're getting two sides of the coin here, right? With what Tundra's saying and with what you're saying, Luke.
yes.
Um, and and it just really shows. Okay, these are all
Yeah.
different views, all trying to say the same thing, and this is just really cool just to see
Yeah.
unfold.
I
The
get
three
you.
of
And
us.
I would like to kind of flip that
Different
coin as well.
perspectives,
Yeah,
different
different
outlooks on the world,
perspectives.
different
So
experiences.
Yeah.
one thing I like to flip the coin with is like also like not necessarily comfort's like the enemy or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
like I want to say it's the pleasure. Pleasure is kind of like
Oh yeah.
the enemy of it. It's like because I believe it's comfort can be bad when you're seeking external pleasure. If you're like searching for something external, like if you're searching, let's say whatever it is, like could be video games, like hanging out with like a woman or whatever, just like seek external pleasure because you feel bad about yourself. Like that's going to be bad. Even put on another person if you're seeking external pleasure from another person or friend or whatever it is, just to feel good about yourself. It's not going to be work. You're going to have to like kind of like you're going to have to dive deep. Why do you need to feel this pleasure?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to search for this? Why do you feel down? Because I believe sadness and whatever you feel down of is more so awareness. Sadness is awareness that something is wrong with like how what happened, like how you think, like whatever happened in your life. Like something is wrong and deal with it is kind of what your body's telling you. But some
Yeah.
people they kind of stick with the sadness too much. They kind of like are stuck in it because they're too much in other external pleasures or they're too much in external pleasures where it becomes their comfort. That's where it comes in where like in some situations you could be in control with, comfortable with, and that comes with
Mhm.
habits are
Yeah.
kind of like if you build a habit towards whatever. That's why I see some people they're comfortable with their job or sometimes but like they don't like their job but they're comfortable with it, or they're comfortable with like content creators and whatnot, and it's because they built a habit of it. And the first time it's probably
Yeah.
hard or whatever it is, but it's always changing. As long as we're having like that type of growth where like we're kind of like searching is or like kind of questioning, why do we need to do
Mhm.
this? Why do I
Yeah.
feel this way?
And
You know?
I
Right.
love the whole like getting to the root cause of things too, because
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely the first step. The first step is having that emotional awareness and self-awareness of saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is actually affecting me negatively. What can I do to work on this?" Even if it's the
Mm-hmm.
smallest baby step. And I think so more so in the sense I agree with you about the whole sadness thing, but I think it goes for all emotions.
Yeah.
And
100%.
whether that be anger, sadness, frustration, even happiness from times, you indulge in that feeling too much, and then all you want to do is get to that feeling again or sit with it, you know?
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I think a lot of the times we are so wired in today's society to immediately find that comfort wherever we can find it, when what we really need to do for ourselves, to grow a little bit as people, is kind of to learn how to sit comfortably with the discomfort.
Yeah.
You know, be comfortable sitting in that, with the uncertainty, and being uncomfortable with whatever. A lot of times we're like, oh, I want this outcome or blah blah. That's fine. You can set a goal or an aspiration to get to a certain outcome, but it's the second when you let that, sit in your brain saying it has to be this outcome or else, and you do everything you can to get to that outcome, more often than not, you're going to go the opposite way because you're trying to control it so much. You have that anxiety, that overthinking everything. You need to sit with that discomfort of not knowing what's going to happen, because I think there's beauty in the fact of we don't know what's going to happen. Take a look at our life. We don't know. I don't know where I'm going to end up in the next few years. You guys don't know where you're going to end in the next few years. But it's all about just enjoying that journey, sitting with that uncertainty and this discomfort, and just being grateful for the things that you have now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, we have the gift as human beings, the gift of planning. Like, we can
Mm-hmm.
plan certain things. Everything you see around you, like whatever it is, buildings, whatever. Someone planned that out. They kind of, where did that come from? Came from their imagination. Came from like planning it out, and took time, whatever, to build. Same thing with a couple years. Sure, you're not gonna know exactly who you are. Like, I wouldn't imagine being who I am like a couple 5 years ago or not, but that's with like themselves. You don't really know who exactly you're gonna be. That's something that could be planned, honestly. Like, you could plan it with like the gym and whatnot, but you're not gonna exactly know. Like, for me, like with let's say with like who I built, or like who I'm building, like someone that, like, extroverted or like anything like that. I was very introverted, as I'll probably talk about. And like, then I grew from being extroverted with talking to people. You can plan things like that. Like, you can plan who you want to be, you can plan what you want to do, but you're not gonna exactly expect it. That's why it comes to the difference. Like, not so much have expectations, but so much is like where you can be in control of what you plan with. So that's
Right.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
have to
kind of
say.
like,
Also, hi, Nabi. Hello.
yeah.
So
So what I'm hearing from you is basically just saying, like, yeah, it's fine to set that, dream goal, but keep an open mind going forward with every step that you take. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
yeah, keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Always don't
Yeah.
stay closed-minded, but still
Mhm.
work towards what you plan with. Have a concrete
Yeah.
plan, so you're gonna be good in the future. Like, whatever you do right
Oh,
now will be your future, basically. If you
wonderfully
don't do
said.
anything
Yeah.
now, it's like, where's your future? Today, whatever you do, you're gonna make it easier for whatever's in the future for you. So
Mhm.
that comes with
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's what I have to say. Any thoughts, Luke? Anything like thinking about
I
in the
had a
future?
thought and then it just went away. And I'm
Bro,
like,
let me tell you something real quick, bro. You're gonna have to, like, dude, I have like this notepad. Every time, like, let's say I let you guys talk one out,
I
I have
know.
this notepad, I write it down, and like, I like think back, so okay, this is what I wrote.
Well,
Like, I have
I
a
was
notepad
writing
ready.
stuff down, but this time I was just all like, "No, I'll be okay." And then now I messed up.
I do like that too, bro. I
We
know.
just talked about planning.
I
Yeah.
know, self care.
um,
It was something.
yeah.
It'll come
You
back.
could come to
If,
Yeah.
self-care.
No
Yeah.
worries. No worries. Yeah.
No
But
worries.
like, I think like, for me personally, I'm seeing myself, I'm seeing, it's going to be always shifts with the journey, right? With self-care, a lot of times you might start out here and then it'll go up, and then all of a sudden it might crash again, and it's just going to be this constant flow, right? But as long as you
Yeah.
keep that steady flow and keep that, almost like a wave, almost, where it, rises and crashes, but it keeps going naturally, just let it flow. If there are some days where you're not feeling as motivated enough, as long as you get up, you shower, you eat, you drink water, there might be some days where that's all you need to do, and then you can just focus on one thing. I'm not saying that that's how it should be every day. I encourage that you go out and put your best forward every day, but sometimes it's hard to find that motivation. So as long as you kind of just stick with it and know that you'll be okay, and keep, have that mindset and treat your body right, like,
That
I
is
think no
confidence,
matter
bro.
where you're gonna go,
Yeah.
you're gonna get there. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Like you mentioned flow as well. I'm not sure. I think maybe like the flow state or whatnot. Like people talk about. It's like we're like getting the flow state and all that fun stuff. Where like they get into like whatever they're doing, work or weightlifting or not, where they're like really focused on it. They're focused on one thing.
Mhm.
You're kind of
Yeah.
taught to like where you should like be productive, do everything. Like do the hustle, like do like work real quick, like do your school and do the job at the same time, or like no do sell this business. Like if you focus too much on that, you're never going to get anywhere. There's no progress. But if
Oh
you
no.
get in that kind of like flow state where you focus on one thing, like you can still do school and job and all that fun stuff, but let's say you focus more so on like the job you're doing at the moment. Right now you're like working and whatnot.
Yeah.
You're not thinking too much about like school or whatnot, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
submit this essay while I'm working or on my break. So instead you get in that flow state where you kind of just focus on one thing on your work, or you kind of just like, go with it. So I like that what you mentioned about flow. It's interesting. Like
Yeah.
be aware. It's awareness. Like be like this can go like self-care, self-awareness. Like be aware of like your current situation now, but don't stay in it. Like it doesn't have to feel like you have to do so much or whatnot one day, but you can think it's like, hey man, I feel this way. I can like just it's always like a reminder that it's our life
Yeah.
and we are well, like as adults, you can't depend on anyone to like control, like help you out in life. So there's gonna be help. You're gonna be grateful for it, but like you can't always depend on that. You're going to have to work on your life as mentioned in planning. You're going to have to plan out your life because no one's doing it for you, and you don't want it.
Yeah.
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 So
And I think that whole thought of planning your life out, especially for kids or teenagers who are in like high school, like junior or senior year of high school, or even with some freshmen and sophomore in college. I mean, I'm staying in college longer than I expected because I had no idea where I was going.
me too, bro.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
right. Common struggle. But I
Me
think
too.
there's so much emphasis on you need to figure out what you want to do. You ask an 18-year-old what they want to do with the rest of their life, they're gonna have no idea what to do.
Bro,
So,
yeah, I've been there, bro. I had so many ideas.
right,
Like at first, I was
right.
like nutrition, film acting,
Mm-hmm.
business, psychology. I was all mixed. I love them all though, like still, but like
Yeah, exactly.
for my
And
work, it's like kind of hard. It's like, man, dude, what am I gonna like commit to for the rest of my life?
right, yeah, and
Yeah.
it takes a long time. I mean, it took me 3.5 to almost 4 years to figure out. My true passion is to become a therapist. And
Yeah.
I love how there was this thing, I forget what it is, but it was from this thing like the it was, I forget the title, but it had like it was like the fox, the horse, and the boy, and something like that. But I
Is
heard
it
it.
a Narnia book?
No,
No,
no, no, no. I don't
I
think.
think I know what you're talking about. I think I've heard of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay, so you do know what I'm talking about, Tundra. Yeah. So, and they were explaining the whole, that whole thing of overthinking, because we are all human. We all have anxiety. We all tend to overthink at times about things that we said or did, things that we want about plan out in life. But this is more so for life. And then what I'm trying to implement more with my situation right now, you know, they get to this like dark forest. The kid can't see where he's going, and at the end, but he needs to get to the other side, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay. And I think it was either like the horse, or I think the horse was like, well, can you see your next step? And the kid goes, yeah. Okay, so take the next step. And if you can see the next step from there, just keep going. And eventually, and it's kind of like the whole like just keep swimming mentality. It's just like you just gotta keep going. Just put one foot in front of the other, no matter how small. And eventually, you're gonna end up somewhere. You might end up at your destination, or you might end up at something completely different where you didn't think you would go, but you ended up there anyway. But because you kind of just took that relaxed approach to it, where you're just putting one foot in front of the other, it's like, okay, well, like for me right now, okay, what's my next step? My next step is focus on grade replacements for my GPA, and then after that, I would go into psychology major and focus on psychology classes. That's all I'm concerned about right now. I'm not worried about, what if I ever going to get, am I ever going to get my own practice, or, am I ever going to make enough money? That's stuff that I'm not even concerned about right now. Right now, I'm only concerned about what I'm doing next. And I think if we step back, think about what our next steps are, whether it be with work, school, relationships, friendships, family, even ourselves with self-care, just taking the steps to take care of ourselves better and show up for ourselves. As long as you can see that next step, just keep moving. Don't try to force a destiny on yourself that you don't even know if that's what you want or if it's what somebody else put on you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I do have something. I have stuff to say.
Yes, Luke, join us. It's been a while.
It's been a while. No, I have complex thoughts, so you're gonna have to hear me ramble for a bit. But like, pretty much, hear me out. So, I feel like planning is definitely very important, but also like you want to have like a balance between, facing the unexpected seas in life and the direction you go in planning. With that, you want to balance both of that, because if you plan too much, it becomes too rigid and it becomes like too much of a pressure to make sure you get that plan forward. And if it doesn't go your way, then it's going to affect your mood. And then if you don't have a plan at all and you just kind of like let go of the flow and let it go, then it's just like you're going to feel confused, you're going to feel worthless and have less value because you don't have a plan in mind. With that said, I'm going to go with a little bit of an analogy, and it's kind of more spiritual in a sense, but it's like when I was like younger and going into college and everything, I didn't have a plan or like a major that I wanted to study in particular. And the only reason why I started college was because I had 4 months of free classes, not 4 months, 4 semesters of free classes that I could do at a community college. So I did a bunch of basic studies, and then I was hoping to generate something from there, but I didn't have a plan. I dropped out, and then I went to college a second time, and it was because I was trying to pursue a major that had a solid career path, which is like IT work, but I wasn't passionate about it. And so I eventually dropped out of it because I was getting drained from studying something I didn't have interest in. And then what that turned around for me was just a bunch of confusion in the sense of just like feeling worthless, feeling like I was being very reckless with my life, was in a bunch of financial debt, and just like thinking like stuff like what was wrong with me. And the spiritual aspect of that is more or less like when you have a plan and things go unexpected or you're hit with an obstacle. For example, I had a hit and run on my vehicle last month. That was definitely unexpected. It ruined my plan. It ruined my plans to financial structure. Yeah, it was wild. Then that's how Satan comes into your mind and plants a seed of like, you're not valuable. You should definitely hate yourself, and because you're doing terrible choices and terrible decisions. And he tries to get you into that mindset of stagnancy and less growth. And the one thing that I lost sight of from when I was younger was God telling me this command and calling to become a pastor, and I just ignored that because I didn't want that responsibility. It's such a big role, a big title, and a lot of work goes into it. But I was ignoring the fact that my character and my personality is drawing towards supporting people and building people up, in different ways, teaching people, giving people clarity. And it's like anytime I was in positions like that, I felt more whole and more worth and more value within myself. But I kept running away from that calling because it's such a big calling. There's so much risk to it that I don't want to pursue it. But I guess my main point with it is like, despite the spiritual warfare, whether you believe in it or not to a degree, it's more or less like self-care also pertains to your perception of self, in the sense of like, what does your relationships look with yourself like? Do you hate yourself, and why do you hate yourself? And it's like, that's why with therapy, you know, you get to kind of analyze and dissect your feelings on stuff and kind of get a layout of it, you know, so you
Mhm.
could progress and move on from there. Do you love yourself? Do you feel confident in yourself? And there's a balance in that too. There's a lot of balance in everything, which I believe a lot of Buddhist religion got right, with balance being very important.
Yes.
But I guess my question with that all said, kind of rambly, was what does your relationship with yourself look like? Like, if you were in a
Interesting.
room talking to yourself, you know, how would that relationship look
Crazy.
like? Would you be arguing with each other? Would you be vibing, you know, like, you know, like, yeah, we've gone through some
Well,
crazy stuff, you know, like, you know, what
yeah.
does your relationship with
So
yourself look
Yep.
like?
before, you know, as usual, like I want to like kind of add on to that as well.
Yeah.
Wrote some things down. So with with the whole thing, like you mentioned, like you like helping people as well, right? Like as you see me too, like I also like helping people as well. Like, you know, it's human. Honestly, as
Yeah.
weird as it sounds, it could be like human nature. As like we like helping
Yeah.
people and like, you know, bringing it up as well. But we also like, you know, can be competitive too. But like we're gonna like, you know, be there for people and like that. But as you saw how I like kind of done it, like I take care of people, but I also took care of myself. Like you see me like kind of like even now like kind of like distance from everything, either that be like online or just like naturally, because I know I have to get in the right mindset. I know that I've like been losing myself as a person, so I have to take some time and like, you know, being alone and all that, which some people like they could work being alone or work being with people. Like I like working with people, like being around people, but also I don't like want to lose myself in that. I don't want to lose myself and like, you know, act in a certain way or put on a mask. Like you never, I don't know if you ever had that feeling, guys, like where you're like with friends or whatnot, you always hang out with them, but like when you're with other people, like other strangers and whatnot, you kind of act different. You're kind of like totally different. That's not like a place I want to be at. I want to be at where like I can act myself, even like with friends or a stranger. You know, like I can act true to that. But
And
uh, like one other thing I want to mention, just real quick, like you mentioned about like spiritual warfare and saying all that. I kind of believe, whether religious or not, right? Like there could be bad thoughts. We have bad thoughts, intrusive thoughts, whatever happens. You used to have that. You have like, you know, like Satan coming in, but like who chooses to do that? Who chooses to do, you know, the sin or the bad thought or the bad thing, right? It would be, you know, us as people. We choose that. And that's why it comes to self care, that we kind of have to like take care of ourselves, work on ourselves. Now it gets kind of like misinterpreted with self care, where like we like want to take care of ourselves, where like we got to feel, you know, some kind of pleasure, some kind of comfort. That is totally wrong. And there's some kind of like self care where it's like you're going to have to like discipline yourself. I believe discipline is like a form of self care or a form of self love. Is because
oh yeah,
like
100%.
yeah, like what kind of like freedom are you looking for, right? Are you trying to find a freedom like where you can get any pleasure you want, any comfortability, like, or are you trying to find the freedom where you can basically like discipline yourself to do anything you want? Like you're not like having your own body, your own mind fighting against you, trying to do that, right? It's like to that point, I believe in that kind of freedom where we can freely discipline ourselves without, you know, being subjected to like, you know, like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna sit down and not do anything. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's yeah, that's why I'm saying it's like, you know, even with passion you mentioned and all the other stuff, it comes with passion's not necessarily where it just happens right away, and it's not talent either. It's more so you try a lot of things and then you see if you like it or not, right? You try so many things, and then you're probably gonna find that one thing you like, and you build a habit of it. Comes your passion. So that's why I feel like, you know, like as like people who's watching, like if they're young, like, you know, us, we're young, like to try a lot of things, so like, you know, you can really find that passion instead of sticking to like, let's say one job or one major that you really like. Try everything, you know, Try a lot
Yeah.
of things.
And more so to the point of trying everything, definitely do it, but also don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Like,
See?
yeah, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things. Go out and have new experiences, even if it's just by yourself. You know, if you're sitting there like, oh, I feel like I need to go downtown, but I don't have a car and all this stuff. Figure out the bus route. Figure out the bus route to get
Yeah.
downtown, to
You
go to those
guys right on that.
restaurants, to try them out for yourself. Because and that's the beauty of it too. Because when you come back and you have all those solo adventures, solo stories, you can tell your friends, you can tell your parents. You're like, oh, wow, that's really cool. So you tried something new. Yeah, I did. And you can take pride and confidence in that, saying, yeah, I did that. So, whether that's trying a new sport, trying martial arts for the first time, cooking. So whatever the hobby or interest is, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to be perceived of that, because that's going to make you more interesting.
Yeah, and
100%.
also to add on to that too is not only just trying new things, but even just having an open mind and less of a closed mind, in the sense of like when you have an open mind, it unlocks not only just trying new things, but also listening from perspectives you probably wouldn't pay no mind to. Listening to different perspectives, different opinions, different aspects, and not necessarily like bringing it down, but realizing it's different and how can I absorb it and grow from that, in a sense. Because
Yeah.
open-mindedness is very key in that sense. And then also I just wanted to add on to the discipline aspect with Tundra, was, I example I want to give is like, I am a creative storyteller, but very washed, like how a gamer could be washed in Overwatch if they don't play it for a while.
Don't get me
and,
started.
and so I feel very washed when it comes to creative writing, where it is my passion, but I would only write whenever I feel inspired or passionate or have the energy to do so. And those short terms of passion are very short lived and they don't happen all the time. And then the reason why I don't put any effort into my book or the novel I'm writing is because I get this notion subconsciously that I shouldn't be writing unless I feel passionate about writing. But the people that get their books published on time and on deadlines are the people who go ahead and write even though they don't have the motivation, even though they don't feel like writing today. They have like a routine and a structure that they're going to write a certain amount of words every day no matter what, and it's
Yeah.
like building that muscle, that discipline. And so discipline is very important to our self-care, not only because it provides growth, but it gives us the open mind to do stuff even when we don't feel like doing it, because that's what builds character more than anything.
Yeah.
So
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I like
And I know how
to.
much you love your character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I know.
know, he's built
Character's
it.
good, bro.
He's built that character, and I want to mention something about discipline. He said like building the muscle, and whatnot. I think I mentioned before on this podcast where it's like something with the AMC, like which is like right here in the brain, and it's like kind of like a muscle right there. It grows, like this part of the brain grows if you do anything that's hard to do, something you don't like. It's basically
Yeah.
encouraging yourself to keep going discipline. So it is like, kind of a science as well. It's like if you actually keep going with the discipline, you're growing a part of your brain. But if you stop that, if you stop if you stop discipline in general, you're like basically like shrinking it. And that's why
Yeah.
we always get the notion, it's like, oh, don't work yourself too much. Don't work like the brain too much at least. But like the brain's not like metal, like where you rust, it actually grows when it's like, working. So I want to mention something too. Like not only that, with like, work and all that, you could overload yourself of information, and not just any good information. It could be like Instagram, TikTok, social media. You're scrolling, you're like kind of ruin your brain, and that kind of like ruins the notion of self-care if all you do is like look up self-care videos or whatever you're looking, but don't do anything. So I want to mention too, what was it? that you said like writing and all that. I read somewhere it was like some guy who used to like always try to write, like really write hard and all that, but he never really got, like, he published his books, but he didn't really get anything from it. But once he wrote something that like where he felt not motivation but passion, where he wrote like, I need to write about this. When he wrote about it, he published it. That was his first book that actually got like really popular. I forgot the name of this guy, but like this is where I want to mention is that like write when you have something to write about. It's like art, you know. It's writing's art. It's like music where you hear like some kind, like some songs when they got like meaning to it if you look at the lyrics or look at the beats, right? It's art and passion. That's what like writing is or anything like that. I mean, I can't really have a say in it because I don't usually like, you know, write, do music or whatnot, but I consider this like art. It's like it's a beautiful thing and like should be done like when you feel a certain way with it, with like your heart, spirit, mind, whatever it is, just like write about it. And yeah, I mean, that's what I have to say with that. And I remember, don't want to like forget about your question too, about like you said, like what's the relationship with yourself or not, which we could answer. It's
Yeah. I'll let you answer first, and I'll touch upon it.
yeah, go ahead, bro. You can expand what I said too if you want before. And all I want to say is like the relationship myself. Honestly, I kind of feel or always like and used to would feel like I'm not doing too much, you know. And that sounds like I wouldn't like trying to make it look good or not because it really is not the best all the time. I mean, it could be for, you know, like the mindset growth, but it's really not. So like I've always felt like I'm not doing too much, like whatever it is, even like with doing school, job, or mindset. It gets really bad to the point where like I try to be productive with my time or try to like do so much, but I'm not making any progress, you know? So my relationship for myself, like I kind of felt like I'm gonna lose myself like a couple bits, but after like, you know, being alone and kind of like being okay or like enjoying my time alone is like when I kind of get back to myself and when like, you know, like, oh, you know, I can just get be with people again. So right now at the moment, I still have that, as I mentioned before, the belief of myself and like the belief of like who I am and who I can be and what I can do. I still have that relationship with myself, but my relationship, it needs to be worked on more. It's not quite there yet. And it could be from a lot. It could be like from my own mindset. It could be the influences. It's like a whole bunch of things. And it's like, depends what I'm putting myself into. But that's my answer for me.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And I love how you mentioned that in terms of getting back in touch with yourself, because there's more than one way to do that a lot of the times. And because some people, they do that by talking with people. Other times it's a lot of self-regulation where they just pull away. You know, they do what feels best for them to get back in touch with themselves. And it's very much kind of, I like to think of it kind of like that, you know, that river thing of, you know, that ebb and flow, you know. And you just kind of just go with it. And if there's an ebb, okay, those are the days where I'm not feeling as motivated to, you know, do as much. I'm not feeling as motivated to get out of bed. I'm not feeling as motivated to go read a book or write in my journal as much as I would, you know. And on those days, it's okay. If I just, you know, put one foot in front of the other, like I talked about earlier, it's just like, okay, I'm just going to write about this. We'll call it good. And then, you know, and then tomorrow we'll try again. Because tomorrow every day is a new experience and a new, kind of like a new section of like a book, right? It's a new page. It's blank. Fill it with something, even if it's not something super interesting. So I love how you touch upon that of just getting back in sense of self and just, you know, finding yourself again, because it's hard. Sometimes you get lost in the chaos. A lot of the times I do. I get lost in the chaos sometimes as well. And on those days, I'm a freaking vegetable in my bed. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I get up, I do my push-ups, I shower, I eat breakfast, and then I go right back into bed again, and I just lie there, maybe read a book, play some video games, doom scroll, you know. But that's what I do when I need to get back in touch with myself. And back to, so I totally get you on that, Tundra, 100%. And Luke, answering to your question about what my relationship is with myself and how I am doing, I would say over the past few weeks of events that have happened to me, which you know about.
Yeah.
I've definitely done a lot of inner child work in terms of healing, and just healing my own emotions, being more in control of my emotions as well, and having that discipline to continue to be in control of said emotions. I am in a state right now where I am content, and not so much content of, oh, I'm comfortable and I'm not going to push myself. No, I'm content in the sense of I'm content with where I'm at and I'm still going to keep going to manage my emotional state and mental state, to have that growth mindset, and to sit down with myself and say, when I get, triggered by certain things in my nervous system, to say, hey, why do I feel uncomfortable? Why do I feel triggered by this? And kind of sit down with myself and go, okay, how are we going to resolve this? What's the next step? So right now, I think I'm fairly confident within my own self, and I know that I'm capable of getting wherever I need to go. If there are small bumps and hiccups along the way, I know that no matter what, I will be okay. And I love that I have that for myself now, more so than ever than I did before. So I'm really just trying to keep at it. So in terms of how I'm doing with myself and with self-care and just self-regulation and being, responsible for my own stuff, I honestly love myself right now. But it's really hard to get there. And there are some days where I don't love myself as much as others. It's not always going to be, once you get there, it's it. That's the promised land. You're done. You made it. Congratulations. You don't have to do any work. No, the work's always going to be there. You're always going to have something new happening in your life. It's just really a matter of continuing to move forward with the progress that you've made and using the tools that you were given and learned and applying them to those new situations to better navigate the world that interacts with yourself and how you interact with the world.
Interesting. Yeah. If you like me to say, like, this can go with Luke as well. It's like, what do you believe? Like, what do you believe that kind of love comes from? Do you believe that love for yourself is either conditional or is it like unconditional love? What would you think?
That's a good question. Do you mind if I go first, Luke, or did you want to go?
You go first. I have a kind of wordy thing
Okay,
to it.
no worries. Yeah. Great question, by the way, Tundra. I really like that. I honestly think it's a little bit of both. We've been talking a lot about balance, things about ebb and flow, and just meaning that inner peace within yourself and just balancing the good and the bad, your vices and your virtues. For me, loving yourself unconditionally, I like to think of love for yourself, whether it's conditional or unconditional, the same way that I view happiness, in the fact that, yeah, you can be happy with other people around, but to truly be in a state of happiness in a moment by yourself, it has to come from yourself. So if I'm able to love and accept other people unconditionally, I ask myself, and I want you guys to ask yourself too, or the people who are watching, or even you guys right now, is just like, if I can love and appreciate other people unconditionally sometime, with the people I care about, can I do that for myself? And if not, why? And once you kind of answer those really hard questions, you start to gather the thing of, you're right. And then you start, taking those moments of gratitude of things that you are proud of doing. You acknowledge, with those self-affirmations, saying, yeah, no, I am proud of myself because I did this. I've been consistent for the past, let's just say I'm proud of myself and I love myself because I've been taking better care of myself and I've been more consistent with the gym. I've gone 3 days a week for the past month. I'm doing great. Right. But, there are aspects of the conditional love aspect, not going to lie. There's a reason why I have social media. It's because, when I post stuff and I see the likes, it makes me a little happy, but I don't actively go out seeking a certain reaction from certain people who follow me. You like my post, you like my post. You don't like my post, I don't care, but I do still monitor it just because it's nice getting that external validation at times. I'm human. Like, we're all human. So I think for the most part, for me, my love for myself is mostly unconditional. There are some things that I'm still working with that I do recognize still as conditional, and it is still a growing process. but I think truly it should be unconditional. Um, but there might be certain aspects or moments in your life, either in the past, the present, um, that might make it have that lens of being conditional, and our brain kind of like confuses it. But for me, I think my self love comes from it being unconditional for the most part, in terms of right now and how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Any
Yeah, no,
thoughts on
that's
it?
good. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, my answer to that question is I don't think I'm at a point where I love myself quite yet entirely. And it's kind of crazy that it's like I'm coming to the self actualization of stuff in that sense where it's like I feel like I make a lot of excuses as to why I don't take care of myself, but I think a deeper stem of that is that subconsciously I still dislike or even hate myself still,
Mm.
you know, and it's like I don't even see a reason why I need to take care of myself in certain areas. And I think my answer is more like deep inside as well. There is a hope that in the future I will get to a point where I do love myself, but I just don't know when I'll get to that point. Um, and it's like more or less like I'm putting off self-love for like another day until, you know, I am more financially stable, I'm more mentally stable, more emotionally stable, etc. And really what it is just a bunch of excuses to put off some self-love for myself
Mm.
because I don't see the worth of it. So I feel like I am self aware of that when I step outside and look at it for face value, but I'm just not at that point quite yet, if I'm
Interesting.
truly honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting.
That
And yeah,
question.
it's kind of, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, you go on, bro. Let's say you got anything else or like,
Yeah, no,
uh,
I was thinking like also it's just like it's also very hypocritical of me to treat myself so poorly and then also put other people on a pedestal, you know,
Mm.
even if they treat
be
me
careful. Yeah.
poorly. Yeah,
Mm,
so you gotta be careful with
yeah.
that.
But like
So
with
yeah, that's
you,
all I have to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
with you dealing with that, let's say like you putting someone on a pedestal and like they treat you bad, no matter what it is, like you mentioned that, you're that's kind of self love in order to take control of your time or like the people you hang out with, and you decide, you choose, like what you want to spend your time in and like who do you want to hang out with. So it's interesting. Like I only asked that question if like love is conditional or like unconditional, is because to be honest, I don't really know the answer to myself. I want to hear your guys' perspective on it too. And for me,
Yeah, yeah.
like I would say kind of mix like you, right? Where like conditional, I was thinking about it. I was gonna say conditional, but then I heard Luke's perspective on it. And I wouldn't really think it's like conditional anymore because like I've been there too. Like where like until like I'm financially stable or like until like financially free or until like I'm like this, I will love myself. But I think like as you said, like excuses and all this other stuff. It's a bad mindset to be in as like current present right now because like who you are right now is not going to be who you are the next day, and who you were before
Mm.
is not who you are now. So you're going to have to love yourself in a grateful kind of way, like in a gratitude kind of way. Maybe it's like where like I love who I am, or I love like who I'm building to become. You're not like, it's like that kind of love of the journey, as you mentioned, not the love of the destination. It's like I
Yeah.
love who I'm building to be. I'm not loving the image or the destination of who I want to be. Because who you want to be could be you right now if you're working towards it and building towards it. So that's what I have to say. And for me, it's like I'll consider like a mix as well as like love conditional and love unconditional. Like I can love myself unconditionally at who I am, but like if I'm not doing anything or I feel like I'm not doing enough, as I mentioned before, it feels like it feels that like it's no like how could I, like at first I thought it's like how could I love myself when I don't do anything. But it's also a bad mindset to think of as well, where it's like you can only love yourself in a conditional way where you have to do something. That's why I kind of co-handed, where like the best and probably healthiest way you can do it is where you love yourself unconditionally, but also you got to consider discipline as love too, where like you can discipline
Yeah,
yourself and also have that unconditional love for yourself, you know. But if you lose one
doing
of
that
two
hard work.
things, it's gonna be hard. Yeah, doing the hard work. hmm But that's what I
Yeah,
have to say with that one to answer that question as well. It's cool.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
No, I would also like to just take the time and just go like I just really appreciate everybody's opinions here because like it's really just nice to have that and just have that mental clarity, see the world from different views, and I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
It's good. We like learn from it, you know, from like our own things. It's
Yeah.
like that's the beauty of open mind, as like we mentioned. It's like what's the point of like, you know, staying closed minded and like just like believe in yourself, have beliefs for yourself, but if you're gonna like constantly think like this is the only way to do it, this is the only traditional way to do it. That's like even with culture. Culture is a beautiful thing. But how do cultures
mhm.
develop? It came through like a open box, came from an outside thing, you know, they like try new things. But if you always stick with that one culture traditional way of doing it, what what kind of growth are you doing? You're gonna be like more so, not sure if anyone wants this, but you're gonna be like everyone else, you know. You're like not gonna be who you really are. Like if you're gonna mention, you mentioned like inner child work and all that fun stuff, like that's an interesting way to do it. There was also like some kind of like study or like philosophy I read about too, where it mentioned that like there are three steps to maturity or happiness, where like don't chase happiness I would recommend, but like this is like one kind of thing where it's like it mentioned where like if you feel like as the adult where like, you know, you feel like you gotta like take responsibility and like, you know, you gotta act a certain way, wear a mask or not. And then there's like kind of that like line mindset where it's like, you know, attack, hustle, do all this. And then there's this other philosophy where it's like that kind of like childlike mindset, not necessarily is like where there's no responsibility. You still have responsibility, you still like, you know, think of disciplining and doing stuff, but you have that childlike mindset of curiosity and the way the world is. You know, like as a child you saw the world, you saw like how like beautiful it is, full of colors, like trees and all this other stuff, you know, like you saw like how great the world is, and like you can still have that childlike curiosity by using again like gratitude or any sort of you know, any sort of like love for like yourself or that kind of like awareness. That's why like I'm a big believer. It's like where um judging is not really the best thing to have like judgments of others. Like if you judge someone that's not taking care of themselves, why? You know, like they're showing outside of themselves, you know, like sure, like some people they show outside of themselves or like inside, but like some people are not attractive or like this and that, like, but there's no reason to judge because you've been there as well. Like everyone has been there, like
Yeah,
usually like where like, you know, they haven't taken care of themselves to look worse or like they feel worse about themselves. So it's better to have that awareness, less judgment, more awareness, where like you're aware of like what people's current standing is or where you are right now and how can you like benefit them. Not so much where you throw yourself away and then try your best to like, you know, improve them. That's not the best way to do it. It's more so it's like what piece of advice or what way could you help him while still acknowledging yourself too. You know, like not completely
yeah.
ignoring.
And you
Yeah.
never know where people are starting from. They might not, you know, because a lot of times it's like, oh, I have to take care of myself. They might not even know for themselves what that looks like or what that means to them. You
100%.
know,
Yeah.
so and I would like to also remind everybody here, whether they're watching now, listening
Yeah.
later, or even just us three, you know, the only person who's stopping you from all this stuff is yourself.
100%.
If you're making all these like excuses, if you're saying, oh, well, this and that and blah, 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 you're the one who's kind of like holding yourself back in a sense. So just start small. I'm not saying that's terrible. Don't think like that at all. No, 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 no. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm, you know, what I want to get the point across is you have the guidelines, the framework, the tools, and hopefully the support from your friends, loved ones to, you know, take those steps. Obviously, you have to be the one to first do that and acknowledge it, saying, "Hey, I'm going to set my mind to do this." Okay. Then you ask, a friend. I have a good friend. His name's Jaden. He's my accountability buddy. I told him before winter break, hey, I need you to check in with me and text me saying, hey, did you do X, Y, and Z this week? Because he keeps me on top of my stuff. So that would be my advice if you're trying to get the ball rolling on something, whether that's creating a morning routine, whether that's getting yourself in the gym 2 to 3 times a week, whether that's even drinking more water, eating healthier, just trying something new. Like, don't be afraid of how you be perceptive of it. Just find a close friend or a family member who be willing to do that for you. And it works great both ways because I'm his accountability buddy too. But don't, cause we mentioned something fear very early on, right? I think Tundra touched upon fear early on. And I was watching this one video about stress and fear, and he, I forget which YouTube video it was, but they made an acronym for fear, and I think it's absolutely beautiful because every single time when I feel like I'm afraid of something, and fear has a very negative perception to it, and when things feel heavy, like I'm overwhelmed by the weight of the world and everything in my daily life, and I'm afraid to do something, I'm afraid to go out and do and try a new thing. I remember that acronym, which was fear is false evidence appearing to be real. Because in our minds, we've convinced ourselves this is going to be the realistic outcome of what's going to happen if I were to try this or if I were to do that. So keep in mind, you have no actual evidence when you're afraid of doing something or trying something new, like going to the gym. So just go out, do it. It's scary. Maybe go with friends if you have them, right? They will help you. Like your true friends will help you. Because it's kind of like almost like that judgment moment of kind of like a test of, hey, is this someone who's going to be there for me like I've been for them, but I guess that could be like a topic for another time. But take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to do these things. And when you are, just remember that's just false evidence appearing to be real. You got this, and you really just, good luck with taking care of yourself, and you will have people around you who are willing to help you as long as you are willing to help yourself. That's the key thing.
Yep.
I want to get into another topic, but Tundra, really quick. There's like a little arrow thing right here on my screen, and it's like,
oh, it's me.
Yeah, it was popping up on the stream too. I was like, okay, I was like, no, it's cool. Isn't that your like little icon from Dury?
Right? The hand,
yeah. Is that the icon? Yeah, no, it's funny. No, something that I want to add on to is the topic about boredom, and let me get into that. So, like, nowadays we are very much saturated with like iPhones and like iPads and gaming and computers and Apple Watches and self-driving cars and just technology progression, which if you use it correctly and wisely, it's a good resource and tool to use. However, I can't help but think about whenever I was younger, like a kid, and I'm sure it's the same experience or something similar for when you guys are a kid, because there's like a 5-year gap between us. But like, I remember whenever I was bored, like, I would complain about it and be like, I'm so bored. And then my parents would just be like, why don't you go outside? Or why don't you try to draw? Or why don't you like color? Or why don't you like watch a TV show? But everything was just like in moderation. And I feel like every time I was bored was when I had a breakthrough of creativity or realizing some skill or talent that I could grow in and do. Like I started creative writing and writing like a book when I was 8 years old, and I don't think I would have ever gotten into that point until I was like literally bored and all I had in my room were just like notebooks and like a pen and then, write whatever, because I saw that and I was all like, oh, this is interesting. And I just look at kids nowadays and how they preoccupy their time is just being on their iPad 24/7, watching TV, doing
Those dang
gaming.
iPad kids.
And not only, and I know those thing guy podcasts, but to even expand on that even further, it's like they're not even interested in even like storytelling or like, you know, like a good book, a good movie, something that has like a character arc or a plot or a journey. What they mostly draw towards is a YouTube video, a reaction video, a watch me DIY this. It's all this observing of other people do stuff instead of doing it themselves. And I feel like it provides so much stress and anxiety in kids that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And no one's getting any joy out of it. And so, my question is, when you are bored, what do you preoccupy your time with? Or even as when you were a kid, how did boredom lead to like a skill or a talent that you possess now, you know?
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
one thing I have to say, there's a reason for it. Reason for
Yeah.
why kids, you know, and all that do like iPads and all that. It's because, you know, it's easier. It's like easier to process. It's easier thing than like reading a book and trying to like imagine things or like watching like TV, whatever it is. Like if you do like iPad games, YouTube videos, it's easy. It correlates to attention span as well. It's like comfort and attention span are kind of like go hand in hand, you know. And oh, you hit me twice. Oh no, I didn't know that. Damn. Thank you, Amber, for telling me that the whole time.
Has it been like that the whole time?
Yeah, I think so.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Damn. Okay, hold on.
What's been going on?
Oh, Tundra's voice has been going through the stream twice the whole time.
Oh.
Oh, part of the process. Okay, now I don't think you hear me.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so now let me get
Learning.
back. So basically, we'll keep it like that. Thank you, Ambu, for telling me. But let me. What was I talking about again? The iPad and stuff. Yeah. So like attention span and comfort, they go hand to hand. If you're more so focused on, you know, your own like comfort, like let's say iPad, you're so focused on TikTok. You see TikTok nowadays, like
Oh,
people
yeah.
scrolling through like TikTok and all this other stuff. What it really would be, it's like they're doing that because it's easier. Like if it says like 30-second video, you're probably gonna look at a 30-second video more than like an 8-minute TikTok, whatever. You're not gonna stay and like waste your time because it's like that kind of like illusion or that kind of thing. It's like you're not spending too much time. So let's look at this. It's only 30 seconds, you know, but in reality, most people are longer on TikTok, like 3 hours. They're trying to get as much information in a short amount of time. And that's called like cognitive overload as well. It's like if you keep doing that, if you keep like, you know, looking at new things and all that, you're kind of like desensitizing your attention, or kind of like ruining that mind. So what I done when I was bored, at least, it's I usually would look at like YouTube videos, like anything that's like beneficial, like kind of helps me, and I kind of like spend my time like that, or try to be in my own head, try to like think of ideas or come up with things, think of like current situations and how to improve myself. That's kind of what I've done, but so far nothing really that's like breakthrough what I've done when I was bored. I mean, like what I used to do when I was really bored, like back then 5 years ago, I used to like always play video games, always done this, didn't really know what else to do. Or recently, like I'll talk to people or anything like that when I'm bored. But now it's more so to the point, I think something could happen when like I'm bored or whatnot, but the only thing, like my big breakthrough when I first like, you know, worked on myself, went to the gym, I don't think I did it because I was bored. I did it because of a feeling. I did it because I didn't want to be who I was, you know. I didn't want to be who I was before. So it was like kind of didn't really stem too much from hatred, but it stemmed from like wanting to be something else, wanting to be more, and I kind of grew from there. And that's one thing that helped me, not necessarily boredom, but I feel like maybe in the future boredom could really develop something in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the definitely the way that we take care of ourselves when we're children drastically differs from how we take care of ourselves now in terms of self-care. Growing up for me, I would literally just hop on my 3DS or my Wii and I'd play, Lego Star Wars, or I'd play Wii Sports with my sister, or even with the CPUs.
Yes.
Classics, classics. Come on,
Those were vibes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I would just play those, and it, that's how I took care of myself. I didn't really, I was a pretty studious kid back when I was in elementary school, middle school. So I didn't have a whole lot of homework to get done through the weekday. So I would come home, I'd play video games, help cook dinner, all that stuff. When I was bored, I play video games. Not gonna, my parents obviously monitored how much I played, right? They were like, don't get too close to the TV and it's been 2 hours, get off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. We've all had those parents,
Yeah.
Got VR now, everyone's close to the TV. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would do when I got bored when I was a kid. And that's shifted so much now because when I was a kid, growing up, I played about 10 to 11 years of piano growing up. I started when I was in kindergarten and I quit roughly around freshman year of high school. So now when I'm bored, things are drastically different. I didn't read a whole lot of books when I was a kid. Now I'm a bookworm when it comes to like self-help books and just like learning new things about the world even. In terms of music, I'll pick up the guitar or I'll just put on some song. I'll turn on my speaker, go on my Spotify, play an album and just sing along to things, I'll still play video games from time to time, but I'll do a lot more things that society would deem as more productive, I guess.
Right.
Reading or playing music, stimulating my brain and making my brain grow. Heck, even I walk down to the coffee shop, the local coffee shop that I'm near, almost every day. Too, I'll just go over there, and even sometimes when I'm bored, all I need is a change of environment. I'm still sitting in a spot by in a different setting with a drink in my hand. I could easily do the same thing in my kitchen, but because I got out of that space where I felt unmotivated to do something or interact with people, I'm now in a social setting. I've walked about half a mile to the coffee shop. I have a hot chocolate or a tea or a mocha in my hand. I'm sitting there and I'll talk with the people who work there. I'll talk with the owner sometimes if he's there. Heck, even people who walk in the door who are just there to grab a cup of coffee and leave. I'll start up a conversation with them. So those are things that I do when I get bored now, compared and how I take care of myself now when I am bored, as opposed to when I was a kid where I only had one outlet.
Yeah.
Also, not gonna lie, going to the gym when you're bored, fantastic option. Please do it. That's what I do too. Just some encouragement there. But those are all things that I do now, and I do a lot more for myself because I've learned throughout the years, hey, this is how I can show up for myself and take care of myself. Because as kids, we're not really taught how to do that. We're not really taught emotional regulation. You ask a kindergartner how they, heal themselves if they have a scratch on their leg. Oh, simple. They just go to the bathroom, they put a Band-Aid on the cut, right? But you go and tell them, hey, how are you feeling right now? And so they're like, oh, I don't know. I feel a bunch of things. I want to punch a wall kind of thing. When they're angry, they don't know how to self-regulate and calm themselves down and take care of themselves emotionally. So that develops later in life and builds up through time. So to answer your question of how I handle boredom, that's how I do it. So
apologies for interrupting a little bit. No, okay.
You have a thought, so go.
Yeah, no. The reason why I brought it up too is I realized it's because I wanted to also bring up that I feel like our boredom as children is so much different than how boredom looks like to children now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like children now don't know how to handle boredom just because of how they are raised by just an immersed multitude of technology.
Yes.
That now that when they do face boredom, they don't know how to handle it, and it causes stress, versus to when it was us, it caused growth. And so I wonder on that sense, when it comes to like self-care, like how we moderate our use of technology to the point where it doesn't become doom scrolling, to the point where it doesn't become an addiction for our pleasures and so forth, how we, delegate our time with that so that we could better self-care for ourselves. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring up that in the sense of like, I feel like it's important to for our self-care to moderate our time on technology.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Tundra?
I would say monitor your time with everything. Like technology is something else, but like monitor your time. Like if it's preventing you from taking care of yourself, like if it's preventing you from mentally take care of yourself, preventing you from exercising, preventing you from all this. If you're doing too much, whatever it is, technology or like partying is not necessarily bad. Hanging out with friends, it's not bad. The only reason why some people they say like, oh, stop partying, all that, it's because it takes up too much of their time. They're too focused on that kind of like external pleasure. So I say like moderate everything. More so, it's like if you're doing too much of something, look into it. You can have too much of everything, even water. But like I would like to. That's what I really have to say. I mean, one final question for me at least would be like there's always something, right? Like even boredom or whatever, there's always like we kind of find the answers when it comes to boredom. We kind of find the answers to ourselves. So I mean, maybe we even know it now. So one question I have is like, what is one answer that you know that you probably like have to do, but like you're not doing, or like you could be like ignoring and not taking action in? Like, what would that be?
So, are you asking like what's something that we realize that we should be doing for ourselves, but aren't or choosing not to? Is that okay?
Basically.
Luke, did you want to go first, or?
No, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, my fault. No, you go.
No, it's my fault because I didn't hear the question. You go first, Ryan. I'll go.
Do you need the question again?
Yeah, we can give you the question.
I was going to hope that you went first, and then I was going to remember what the question was as you gave your answer. But now we're too far to the point where it's like, oh crap, I didn't hear the question. So Tundra, can you tell the question?
I got you. Yeah, it's just what is one thing that you're ignoring about yourself that like
Oh,
should
okay.
Do? Like
to like take care of ourselves, yeah.
One thing that I'm ignoring about myself. I don't listen. No, I don't know. You go first, right? If you
okay, think about it. We'll put a pin in it for now. We'll pull the pin.
Put a little pin on it.
I think for me, one thing that I know I should be working on right now, but am struggling with doing that. I think what I need to do right now is honestly be a bit more consistent. I do go to the gym, and I do go and do all these things that I've mentioned that I do in my daily life. I just feel like I need to be more consistent with it. Even if it's for just a small fraction of time, maybe that's 20, 30 minutes. But I feel like I need to show up a bit for myself and be a bit more responsible for myself and be a bit more consistent with the gym specifically. Also with drinking water and eating. Those are basically the big three things. I am eating, I am drinking water, I am going to the gym or at least exercising in the morning when I wake up. But I need to be a bit more consistent and set up that routine for myself. So that's one thing that I know I'm kind of getting in the way of, or kind of subconsciously neglecting, even though I know I need to do it and it's important. So that's one way I could take better care of myself. And then, yeah, that's it. Luke, you got something? I also want to ask a question to both of you after this as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it simple. The one thing I'm ignoring about myself is taking care of myself. Literally.
Oh,
so
self-care.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in general. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
literally what it is. I was like, yeah, that's straightforward what it
All
is.
That's
right.
cool.
And
That's
since
cool.
you asked, Sandra, what about you?
Me, well, I would say it's more so similar to you in a sense where it's like, working out and staying consistent with it. It's more so the physical aspect. It's like
Mm.
I know that I have to be like more, I have to do more things physically active. I have to work out more. I have to do all this other stuff, but I'm not staying consistent with it. And I know I could. And that, and also like removing distractions as well, removing whatever's distracting me from doing that kind of work, doing like, the workout, doing whatever is benefiting me, like focusing, planning, business, like it's just remove that kind of distractions and basically just exercise more is what I know that I need to do.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then, so I feel like we pretty much covered everything self care wise and our experiences with it. One final
Mm-hmm.
question before we all go is what is this very simple, lighthearted, but what are you most looking forward to with this new year?
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
I think because we talked about success, if you remember, like what we were talking about, what we were looking forward to.
We were more so we didn't really say like what we looked forward to, but we said like what do we
You know
plan, like
what
what's our
I'm
goal.
what I'm looking forward to is there's all of these like I feel like this year is going to be tough, but I feel like it's going to be rewarding once I kind of like get the discipline and stick true with things, and that it's going to really be a blessing in that sense of just like being more financially stable so that I could better support other people as well as have not other people worry about me and then me be in a better mood. And I feel like bringing this whole topic of self-care was really important for me to keep in mind in that sense of like things are going to get better this year,
Solid.
as long as I keep that discipline and consistency, you know. So it'll get there, and I feel like this year is the year it's actually going to get there.
Yeah, I believe in you, buddy.
Yeah.
You got it, bro.
I'm not going to be fighting for my life anymore. Like I'm so done with that bull crap for like the past 5 years. So yeah.
Hunter, what about you, man?
Yeah. So I would say look forward to this year as like I feel like this is kind of one of those years where like I'll find myself. Like I'll really know who I am. Like, I feel like this is one year like where I know more about who I truly am and like who I truly wanted to be. And not only that, but also I look forward to this year where like I made more progress to my goal, which is like that define yourselves and also like the financial freedom. I made making more progress towards financial freedom than I did the last couple of years. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to, and yeah, just two of those goals really for this year. That's what I look forward to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, bro.
All right, guys.
And yourself? Like, I'm not sure if you is that. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're like, all right,
I
guys.
know.
I
I have to
know. I
think
was like,
about
wait,
it.
let's hear you too, bro. It's gonna be
I
good.
think something that I'm
Yeah.
most looking forward to this year um, is definitely just looking forward to all the new connections I'm going to be making with my social life. Um, Luke knows pretty much everything that's been going on, and I think he knows what aspect of social life I'm talking about. But don't give me that look. Um, but I
It
think
builds
in terms of
character.
like meeting new people in my classes, especially coming towards a new perspective and a new focus of study. I think I'm going to definitely find some like-minded people who have similar drive and ambition, which will, which I look forward to interacting with them to aid with my own goals and ambition with becoming a therapist and everything like that. Um, so I think that's something I'm looking forward to the most is this next upcoming semester for school for me. I think I'm looking forward to that the most. But overall, throughout the entire year, just seeing, just watching the journey unfold day by day of my own healing journey and process of that growth process for myself, and just watching it all unfold day by day. So that's what I'm those are probably the two biggest things I'm looking forward to this year. So yeah.
Sounds great. All right, we got it. I mean, you all got it. I believe we can do it. Let's just keep working towards that goal. Yeah.
We're in this together.
We're all
100%.
in this together.
Yeah,
No,
It's copyrighted, but he's really got it. You got control, right?
We didn't sign the forms.
we're not going to get copyrighted from singing a song. It's fine.
I don't know, bro. You sound exactly like it. You scare me, man.
Yeah, I sounded like Gabriella.
Sure.
All jokes, yeah. But yeah, we'll call it right now. Thank you all for watching.
Alrighty.
And thank you for being here as well, Rye. And thank you
Yeah,
for
no
coming
worries.
in the loop.
Pleasure to be
This
here.
is wonderful. Yeah, it's always a pleasure just talking to you guys. It's wonderful. So,
Alrighty.
we'll
Catch
call
you
it.
later.
Y'all have a good one. Take care.
All right.